Hola! I'm back in the fall garden because we're at the tail end of anything we can harvest. So, I grabbed some leeks. I grabbed the last little squash, but I have another one up there I can supplement with from last week's harvest. And we're going to put together an incredible Spanish soup. Traditionally, it's not blended, but we're going to put ours in the blender and make it a little bit smooth. And it's going to be such an amazing combination with potatoes from our garden, and we'll be good to go. So let's get started. Just a quick stop in the kitchen herb garden, and that finishes off our ingredient list. And as much as I love the rosy red color of these skins, they're coming off. Have you ever seen such beautiful potatoes? I have to say, I never imagined they'd be my favorite vegetable to grow, but there they are, perfect and ready for the soup. And finish them off by cutting big fat chunks. I didn't have a ton of leeks left in the garden, but I pulled what I could, so they're all different sizes. It doesn't really matter because they're so tiny. I checked these before to make sure there's no dirt in them, and now I'm just going to go ahead and chop them up. A little bit of green is always nice to add. And into the pot they go. It's time to get that thick outer layer of the skin on the squash off and just chunk it up like the potatoes. This pot's starting to look pretty good. But we have a few more things we want to add, like a teaspoon of Mediterranean sea salt, those herbs I trimmed in the garden, a nice sprig of sage, a fistful of thyme, and a couple stalks of rosemary. Add 4 cups or 1 liter of vegetable or chicken broth, just enough to cover everything. Douse it with some extra virgin olive oil, and then gently submerge all the herbs to make sure they're well covered in the broth. Now put the stock pot on high heat, and as soon as you can see it coming to a boil, give it a gentle stir, and let's turn it down to low to medium, and then we'll put a lid on it. It's been about 20 minutes, so I just want to check the vegetables to see if everything's done. Wow, perfect! Now let's check a potato too. Perfect, we're all done. The next simple part is removing the herbs because they've done their job. They've given this soup some real flavor. And I think we have everything. That looks good. Now we'll let it cool just a little bit, and then we'll get the blender ready to go. We're going to start by adding the potatoes and the squash, and you don't have to add them all at once because it'll be a little bit easier to blend a little at a time. And I'm only going to add a little bit of stock at the beginning. So now that we have some of the soup in there, I'm going to put the lid on and let it go. That's a nice amount, so let's add some more. I try to make sure I don't add too much broth all at once in case it makes it too thin. So I just add a little bit at a time, and if I end up with extra, I can always save it for another vegetable dish later. It's time to check the consistency. And mine seems a little thick, so I'm going to add a bit more broth. Put the lid back on. Give it a whirl. Okay, that looks better. The consistency looks just right, so we'll give it a taste test and we're all done. I know there's a rule of thumb about not adding a garnish you don't expect somebody to eat, but I love to remind our guests of exactly what's in this soup. If you want another idea for garnishing soups like this, click on this playlist and learn how to make my favorite crispy, crunchy fried lentils.